Welcome to the latest roundup of news and polls from Ipsos MORI. And as Westminster obsesses over who said what or not in Downing Street about the pandemic, with Dominic Cummings' revelations, overall concern about the pandemic remains the key issue in Britain for most people, down from its peak, but still a great deal of concern. Interestingly, concern about Brexit continues to fall, but we're seeing rising concern about climate change, and it will be interesting to see if that's sustained. It's still only roughly one person in five mentioning it as a key issue facing the country, but with the heavy lifting that's required to address the issue during the 2020s, it'll be interesting to see if we see any surge in that with COP26 taking place later this year. Overall, because of the shock and awe of the pandemic, when we look at people's spending patterns in a recent study for Nationwide, we can see, 3/4 of people saying they want to save more than they've done in the past because the world is now full of risk and uncertainty. 9 out of 10 saying that it's important to be careful and always have savings. And at less than half saying that you can just not worry about the future and just enjoy yourself. And it does look as though, although people might go and spend some money on some holidays, some new clothes after coming out of lockdown, overall the proportion of people who are feeling carefree is at the lowest it's been for some time. 49% disagree now that the important thing is to enjoy life today and let tomorrow take care of itself. So the world does seem to be a little bit more cautious, and the roaring 20s might not be quite as roaring as some experts have been predicting. And overall, when we look at how we will come out of lockdown finally, if and when it finally happens, with a new variant around, there's considerable proportions of people who are still not comfortable greeting people with a handshake, using public transport, going to big events, and half saying they're not happy taking holidays abroad. Well, we're probably not going to be allowed to in many cases, so that may be just as well. But certainly it's a reminder of just how cautious the public remain. And 1 year after the murder of George Floyd by the police in America, and also record concern about race relations in Britain, we can see that there's only 30% of people who say that we talk about race relations too little, 28% say we talk about race relations and racism too much. And, we're sort of split over whether the level of debate about race relations in Britain and racism is right or wrong. Overall, of course, black people, who might be the best arbiters of this, 6 out of 10 of them say that we talk about race too little. So we'll see how that goes. But interestingly, 54% of people in Britain of whatever background say that we need to do more to tackle racism and injustice in the country. So we will see how that goes. On a similar vein, are you woke? We've looked at the whole issue of culture wars in 2021 in a big study with King's College, and what we found is that people are completely split. 26% of us, particularly if we're young, think being woke is a compliment. Another quarter think it's an insult. But if you're as old as me, 56, you're probably very likely to not have the faintest idea what people are on about. And overall, 4 out of 10 of us say we don't know what it really means. And actually, most people in Britain say that they don't know what being woke is. We don't really know what trigger warnings are, or cancel culture, or microaggressions, or identity politics are. So although there's a lot of debate on social media, and indeed in the media generally about these things, and by politicians, for a lot of the public, this is just passing them by. And I think it's a reminder sometimes that we're perhaps less divided than we think we are. And indeed, 3/4 think that actually it's our media themselves who are making our country seem more divided than it is. Elsewhere, we've seen rising global confidence in the economy among consumers for the 8th month in a row. We've looked at how you can raise and improve your customer experience by focusing on the key things. We've looked at using data from social media, which could actually help you bring a bit more empathy if you're providing services to patients. There's all that and much more on our website. Thank you for listening.